Now, Sports Talk with Broads. Here's Hunter Brody.
Can the Phillies play the Mets every series? I'll be honest with you. What a great 3-game set. That was actually very entertaining. Now, there was some wonkiness involved in this series where there was obnoxious defensive errors and misplays out in the field, and Hector Neris blowing it in the 9th, but still finding a way because of Bryce Harper getting a walk-off victory. Like, there was some wonkiness involved, but ultimately, look at that. The Philadelphia Phillies win baseball games when they play an organization like the New York Mets. That was fun, no doubt. Zack Wheeler on the bump in this one, stellar. Going up against his former team, stellar. 7 innings. How many ground balls? 9. He did allow a couple runs there when he got in some trouble, but the fact that he went 99 pitches, went out in the 7th, was about 90 pitches into the game, and found a way to be efficient late, awesome. I loved what he brought to the table in this one. The fact that there's times where he's cruising high 90s past guys, you just don't see that in the Phillies organization. 97, 99, give me more. I need more of that. It was incredible to see him use that fastball, and it was electric, and it was fun. A lot of ground balls in play, and when the defense does its job, well, then, guess what? That works. There is one guy out on that field, though, that is awkward as hell to watch, and we all heard the noise about his defense. We are now seeing it. Alec Bohm, wow, he's got some work to do out on the field. You know, you have that one play where he throws it, brutal throw to Rhys Hoskins, but Rhys still finds a way to get the baseball, throw it to Andrew Knapp at home plate, and boom, get a big timeout. But there was another moment, this was in the 5th inning, where Alec Bohm just a traditional standard throw to first base, and he has Rhys Hoskins diving on his stomach to get the ball. I mean, you got to throw the baseball better, so Alec Bohm, let's keep an eye out on what he does defensively moving forward. He needs work. I will say, though, offensively, this kid is it. This kid is legit when it comes to the plate. He gets another RBI in this one. He had 2 total hits. I love watching Alec Bohm, and I think that there's a bit of a spark plug going with this Phillies team. Sometimes when you see the prospects succeed, you see the young guys that the organization and the fans know about. When you see them succeed, there's some juice involved. It gets the team fired up. It's sort of like Phil Gosselin, right? Let's use Phil Gosselin as an example. When he gets going, when he's getting hits, that sparks the team. When Andrew Knapp, now he didn't in this game, but he did have a couple games where he was getting something going offensively. When guys like that produce a little bit of energy, the team takes it to the next level because of their role, because of who they are. Where with Alec Bohm, I think this offense is getting a groove a bit because, hey, they're feeding off of it, baby. Super fun to watch. This episode of Sports Talk with Broads is sponsored by Orbit Energy and Power. With over 20 years of experience in the solar industry, they are home to your solar experts. They provide not just solar energy, water purification systems, backup energy services, battery storage, tree removals, emergency services. If you're looking for an upgrade to your home, make sure you check out their information. It's in the description. So, the Phillies start this off with Jean Segura at the top of the lineup, roping one off the wall and getting a triple. And I think Jean Segura needs to stay up towards the top of the lineup. I'm not saying specifically first and leading off, although I'm not against it if it's better than what Andrew Mccutchen has provided. And we'll get to Andrew Mccutchen a little bit later on because he had a huge at-bat. But I just want him up at the top of the lineup, maybe second. That's where I prefer him. He is a guy who can provide that for you way better than what he gives you at the 6, 7 hole. I want Segura up in the lineup, and not only has he been improving when it comes to his batting average over the last couple games, that was around 180 at one point, and now it continues to creep, and now we're touching that 220 mark. Let's continue that, right? Not only is he providing that part of his game, but there's been more power involved as well, driving the baseball, executing that way, not just the singles and the things of that nature. He's providing some power behind his swings too. Very fun to watch. And how about Rhys Hoskins? opening up a bit more when it comes to that offensive game, knocking in Jean Segura in that first inning to give the Phillies a 1-0 lead. Huge for Rhys. He really needs to continue to build off of the success that he has had over the handful of games that were recently played. I thought the Phillies could have scored more in that inning, though, because they did have first and second no outs after it was a 1-0 game, and they weren't able to get anyone across the plate from there. They should have been able to score more runs on Porcello. The opportunity was absolutely there, and when you see this Phillies team have chances early, and when they don't get those runs in, you always have it in the back of your mind. You always think, uh-oh, remember that first inning when they could have made it 3-0, when they could have made it 4-0 or 5-0? They only scored one. And that scares me because there are times and there are games with this roster, with this batting lineup, where they don't hit with runners in scoring position much, not as much as they need to, and it costs them. So that was in the back of my mind at the time. Alec Bohm in the second had that bad throw, and that fifth inning one was bad as well. It's pretty miraculous that it's to that level, right? You would think that you could find a way to throw the baseball to first base. It's so awkward looking. Fourth inning, you have Zack Wheeler getting into a bit of some trouble. He loads the bases up by hitting Wilson Ramos. So you have the bases loaded. And bang, the Mets get on the board, 2 runs. It could have been a lot worse. Jay Bruce makes a nice play, throws it to Alec Bohm, and gets Wilson Ramos, who apparently thinks he's a speedster. He guns him out at third base, which limited the damage. And now the Phillies faced a bit of adversity. I'm not against this Phillies team facing a bit of adversity, and there they did. And in the 6th inning, how about this? JT Realmuto, good baseball player, doubles. Alec Bohm knocks him in. And then Jay Bruce leaves the baseball game because he had a quad injury. So here comes Andrew McCutchen. First pitch, bomb! First pitch, moonshot crushed. Get out of here. Phillies take a big-time lead. 4-2, Phillies are back on top. And there's no doubt that Andrew McCutchen needed this. And I just feel at this point, I'm talking about a couple guys who really needed to turn it around. I keep mentioning those players and saying, oh, it looks like they're getting something going. And that's promising. You had Jean Segura, who came up to a brutal start to the season, but it seems like he's turning it around. And oh, by the way, he hustled his ass off down the first base line in the 7th inning, and he had an injury and had to leave the game. It looks like a hamstring injury, but that 7th inning sparked this team. They scored more runs. That all started because of Jean Segura, but it looks like he's turning it around. Rhys Hoskins has definitely been a bit better. Andrew McCutchen needed something to get going, and how about that? A big bomb to really give this team a boost, and the Phillies took a 4-2 lead, but I mentioned that inning that started, Jean Segura started it off in that 7th inning. They scored a couple more runs. JT Realmuto, Didi Gregorius, who's been awesome to watch, and they knock in 2 more. It's a 6-2 game, and the bullpen did well. Adam Morgan, 1 1/3. Hector Neris, 2/3 of an inning. But here's the thing. When you have starting pitching, you don't need to dive so deep in your bullpen. Isn't that wild? And we knew the Phillies team needed to get some help with the pitching staff this offseason. And they got someone like Zack Wheeler, who I really like the move. I know people question the move. How could you give this guy that much money? Look at his ERA. Look at his wins and losses. No. Zack Wheeler was a fine acquisition. I wanted another acquisition on top of that because starting pitching matters so much. This bullpen is terrible. Absolutely terrible. But you can succeed when you have your starting pitching go way deeper in the games, and then you don't need to utilize your bullpen players as much for as many innings, and then you can be a bit more successful. It's a huge snowball effect, and that's why the damn starting pitching was such a big conversation this offseason, because this allows you to get by more often than not. Starting pitching wins. Look at what the Nationals had to win the World Series last year. Look at those type of starting rotations that win in the playoffs. You need legit starting pitching, and you can see that when you watch the Phillies go out and compete throughout. When Aaron Nola's on the mound, they have a phenomenal chance. When Zack Wheeler's on the mound, they have a phenomenal chance. But when Vince Velasquez is out there, when some of these other guys are out there, oh, wow, it's a little bit harder to get it done. And that's why I go back to Jake DeGrom not starting on that first game. And it was really nice. Because imagine if they lost that first game to the Mets. That doesn't mean they wouldn't have won the next two. But coming off of the series sweep against the Orioles where they got destroyed, the energy could be a lot different. It could have shifted towards the Mets' favor. Although it would be tough to beat Aaron Nola and Zack Wheeler. Not impossible, but tough. Who knows what would have happened? Bryce on base 3 times, very aggressive. How about that base running? The way he hustles. And he did get thrown out at third for being super aggressive, but that's one of those modes where you love watching him do that. Hey, you know what, Bryce? You make that out at third base, fine by me. You do so much well, and you do so many positive things because of that work ethic, because of that aggressiveness, that I will easily put my hands up and go, I'll live and die by that type of work out of Bryce Harper any single day of the week. So he was super aggressive, but he got on base 3 times in this game, and he's flying under the radar, I feel, for how solid he has been to this point when it comes to the all-around league. Like, the league needs to be praising this man way more than they are because he is putting together one hell of a stretch to start this season. And maybe it's because JT Realmuto's name is, hey, he's a free agent. Hey, the Phillies haven't signed him. Maybe because the conversation and storylines between JT Realmuto and the Phillies is more popping because look at what he's doing, because look at his home runs and look how many games he has played compared to some of the other guys, and he could be a big-time free agent when it comes to that money. Not he can be, he will be, because we know how the Phillies are handling this at the point we are at right now. So maybe because of how well he's playing, that is minimizing Bryce Harper's start to the season, but it absolutely shouldn't. Scott Kingery. I mentioned a couple guys I've been mentioning who've been getting off the schneid, if you will. Scott Kingery had 2 hits in this one. One up the middle, one little bloop. Sometimes that's all it takes. He's not a 100 hitter, so there's got to be more in there, right? Whether you think Scott Kingery's good or not, or whether you think that contract was ridiculous when he got it or not, we can all agree he's not a 100 hitter. So at some point, he's going to have to produce more than he is to this point, right? I mean, please tell me. And oh, by the way, Roman Quinn did not play in this game. He was put on the IL, but it seems to maybe be COVID related. He woke up with some sort of discomfort, not feeling right. And he told the team, and then the team put him on the IL. So we'll have to continue to see what happens with Roman Quinn. Now, the Phillies are off on Monday. That gives them a day to rest and regroup before heading up to Boston. And we've been hearing this a lot about how they've been playing so much at Citizens Bank Park. Maybe leaving Philadelphia, going to a new city, going to a new ballpark will freshen them up a bit. New change, a new scenery, and it gives you a vibe of, hey, we're playing baseball, instead of this weird wonky, we're going to Citizens Bank Park every single day. Why are we going into Citizens Bank Park literally every single time we play a baseball game? Going to Fenway. Maybe that changes their mindset of, hey, here we go. But now they're 8-9. They fought back to 1 game below 500. You'll take a series sweep, of course. It's not much better you can do. And let's see if they can grab back to a 500 record once they start this series up against Boston. The Boston Red Sox are no deep team. Okay? Their pitching stinks. We think the Phillies pitching stinks. You should be able to do some damage against this Boston Red Sox lineup, without a doubt. And with the way the hitters have been hitting, there's something there right now. There's some juice surrounding this lineup. And I wonder how Joe Girardi is going to implement this lineup every single day. Will Jean Segura stay at the top? Well, you do have the Jean Segura injury. I keep forgetting about that. So, that is something to keep an eye out on. JT Realmuto, 3 for 4, 3 hits. Nice day at the office. Let me just clock in, clock out real quick. I wonder if Jay Bruce is going to be all right. You're starting to get a bit banged up. You got Jay, Jean Segura, Roman Quinn. Speaking of injuries, though, it does seem like there are some guys who are throwing. It's David Robertson, and who was the other one that was throwing some pitches? Ranger Suarez throwing some pitches? Now, I don't expect David Robertson to come back and be any sort of player for this team this year, and I don't know what to expect out of Ranger Suarez. He was on that COVID-19 list, and then you haven't heard much out of him, while Tommy Hunter, Scott Kingery, and other guys were on the list and already came back and obviously have been playing. So I don't know what type of symptoms he was having or what he was going through during that time. Hopefully he can come back and be something for this bullpen because anything will help at this point. And keep in mind, there's a doubleheader on Thursday as well. So when it comes to the starting rotation and what you're going to see, there's a lot of question marks right now. Big win, though. Big win. Big fan of the W. Support for Sports Talk with Broads is brought to you by Manscaped, who is best in men's below-the-belt grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. They obsess over their technology developments to provide you the best tools for your grooming experience. There's nothing worse than being in the shower and shaving down low before you're going out on a date and you get one of those, big-time cuts. And now you're making sure that it's not bleeding anymore. We don't have to worry about that with the Lawnmower 3.0 because their third-generation trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce accidents thanks to the advanced skin-safe technology. LED lights in the shower, 7,000 RPM motor with quiet stroke technology, 90-minute battery. Trim that junk of yours. Your balls will thank you. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code BROD at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. Use code BROD. It was nice not seeing Jared Hughes pitch for this team anymore, though, huh? What a goofy dude, the way he's running out of the bullpen. We all know the gif by now of JT Realmuto shaking his head, just thinking to himself, what in the world is this guy doing? Although, after that game, he made it clear that that's not what he was shaking his head at, but we all know, come on, man, when a guy's running like that out of the bullpen, what the hell? He got beat up a bit by this Phillies lineup. And Porcello did as well, who allowed 10 hits on the day. And Phillies offense did it. The Phillies offense seems to be clicking. It seems to be going. And they're producing more than they did to start the season. That's exactly what you're going to need to do. These guys are going to have to step up. And whether it was the weird beginning of the season with everything that played out with COVID and spring training that affected some of these players, which is very possible, right? I know that there's no excuses because once you hit the diamond, you hit the diamond. But it's very possible that there is a problem based off of the way that everything started when it came to the season. And now that they're getting some games under their belt, the flow is there with guys getting the proper practice when they need to, batting practice. Because at one point, they weren't allowed at the stadium because of the Miami Marlins outbreak, and they missed a big period of time. Now, you're seeing live action. You're playing every day. You're seeing these pitchers. You're getting more comfortable. You're getting more reps at the plate. Not just batting practice, but in live games as well. And it does seem like this team is starting to put it together a little bit. I know Rhys Hoskins' numbers don't pop off the screen when you look at his stat sheet afterwards, but if you watch him play every day, there is more there, right? There is a little bit of something there. Look at his RBIs over the last couple games compared to what he gave you through the first 10 or so games of the season. You're seeing it there. Like, think about this game, right? It's 1-0. 1-0 in the first inning because Jean Segura gets that triple and Rhys Hoskins knocks him in. That's big. That's big. Rhys pisses me off and it's so frustrating, and I get it, and I'm with everybody else who can't stand Rhys Hoskins to a certain degree, and you don't feel comfortable that he's going to be able to just flip the switch and be what he once was. But that's a big hit, and what he provided in last game, where there's a base-clearing double to give the Phillies the lead when Aaron Nola was on the mound. That's a big hit. That's the type of Rhys Hoskins we are going to need, but if he's batting in the 2-hole, are those opportunities coming up as much as they are when you're in the cleanup hole? No, it's not. And you need this offense to be thriving because Rhys Hoskins is driving in runs. So I've been on the record saying, why don't we move Rhys down a bit, because maybe his mindset will change. And the way JT is throwing that bat around right now, I think you keep him in the cleanup. But I wouldn't be opposed of finding a way to get Bryce, JT, and Rhys Hoskins as your 3, 4, and 5. Didi could be your 6. Maybe Jean Segura as your 2. And you can continue with Andrew McCutchen because he is that veteran that you expect to turn it around because of his track record. You throw McCutchen in there. Then you got McCutchen, Segura, Bryce, JT, Rhys Hoskins, Didi, something of that nature. But once again, with Gene, we don't know what the problem is going to be right now and how long he's going to be out for. But at least there's one day, Monday, being off, that allows the team to get more of an update, to figure out how long-term some of this seems. You can put Phil Gosselin at second base if you want to keep Scott Kingery in center field because Adam Hazley's not available and Roman Quinn's not available. And Phil Gosselin had some pretty solid defensive plays at second base his last outing. I mean, he looked like Derek Jeter over at shortstop, using his backhand, throwing across his body. I'm thinking this guy could be a Hall of Famer one day with that glove. I'll tell you what, though. When your team succeeds in baseball, so much more fun. Oh, it's a blast. You can smile, you can laugh, you can hang out with your friends, you can talk about the nasty pitches, you can talk about Bryce Harper's flow when he's running the bases, you can talk about how Matt Glendak needs to sign JT Realmuto, but when it's 8-0 and the bullpen's allowing so many runs and so many hits, you're miserable. You're all dug into your phone, you're thinking, how do we sit here and watch this team every single day? It's a totally different energy when this team plays good baseball, and you just saw 3 games where the Phillies won after 3 terrible baseball games. And Bryce Harper even came out and stated, that was embarrassing. That can't happen. That's pathetic. Unacceptable. And boom. A response. And you look at the way he plays, and you look at the way it translates when it comes to production and work ethic and how everybody else transforms too. You can't tell me that Jean Segura hustling the way that he's been hustling over the last couple games has nothing to do with Bryce Harper and the way that he plays, because I won't believe it, because I won't buy it. It is. When you see Jean Segura hustling, you know something's right, because that's not normally in his DNA. So when he's doing it, that tells me something about this clubhouse, and they are properly engaged when it comes to that side of baseball. And we'll see if this team continues. Thank you all so much for listening, and I will see you next time.